Welcome to AlphaCars and Motorcycles. My name is Dimitri and I'm inside a UAZ vehicle, and this one is 1990, so it was still built under the Soviet government, and it actually is a high quality vehicle, an extremely simple but a high quality vehicle. And this one is super original with only 13,000 documented kilometers, about 8,000 miles more or less. And I'm just going to turn it around so we situate it, and we're going to walk around and show it to you, and then we will show you our test drive. Let's get it started. We have some gauges here, and yeah, took a little bit of cranking. The engine is actually cold. It's been sitting here, so we are parking brake off. Always check that. Actually pretty decent visibility. Small window, but a pretty decent visibility. There's one important thing I'm going to show our viewers. You see this thing? This is actually a seal, and there's a little wire, metal wire, that leads to the speedometer head, and that is to make sure that the speedometer cable was never disconnected from the speedometer. So anytime this vehicle was on the road, the speedometer was showing the speed and the odometer was counting the kilometers. So you definitely want to see this type of seal, and this is the original factory seal. That means the speedometer was never disconnected or removed from the vehicle. So one important detail, and let's check around the vehicle. So what's so special about this one? First of all, its originality. It's low, super low kilometers mileage, and the paint is factory original. We actually sold this vehicle to its current owner maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and he kept it super nice. He made a few basic maintenance and service updates. I know before we sold it, we installed H4 headlamps, which still are period correct, but they produce a lot more light than a standard Soviet era sealed beam. So yeah, it comes with a standard amount of like little dents, which actually a lot of them came like that right from the factory. The paint, as I said, is original. There is absolutely no rust. If we get the camera, and we can actually let's just get that out of the way. But if you point the camera to the frame rail, you'd be amazed. The condition of the underbody is just super, super nice. This vehicle was never off-roaded, and therefore it doesn't have any modification. It doesn't have a typical off-road damage. Everything is super, super solid. So from the standpoint of the interior, it is functional and far from luxurious, but it is, again, super original. From the paint all the way down to hardware, it is super original. And we do have the upper doors with glass. They bolt on using this hardware. They bolt right on. It doesn't take long. So here are the upper doors. They are properly packaged, and we had them on the vehicle, so you can see here's the vent window, and these are the mounting points. The hardware's there, and it just literally just goes on the door. Tighten it up. Actually, before you tighten up, you put on the door, you close the door, you shift this and align it. There's a little bit of adjustment you can do, and once you find the right spot with the door closed, you can tighten those bolts on the bottom, and you do it on all 4 doors. They're in impeccable condition, absolutely no damage. All the rubber is nice. There was no repaints, there's no rust. Just like the rest of the vehicles, they are very, very solid. And there are 4 of them, 2 for the front doors, 2 for the back doors. Yeah, here's a good view. You can see how it looks. That's for the front door. So there are hardware pieces. Two of them are on the doors, and the third one, we left them there. So one of them was just in there. So that opens, that closes, and that locks it. So very simple. This one doesn't go up and down, so the window regulator will never break, just like air conditioning, because it doesn't have one. UAZ actually made an accessory. Check that out. In the 90s, late 80s, Ural made an accessory. That was a big deal. You couldn't find them easily. And this is the center console. And as you can see, it has a compartment back here. And there's actually some hardware there. And it has two compartments on the top. And it has a slot for the radio. So this is actually the standard size for the radio. You can slide in a radio. You would have to wire it. So far, UAZ has all original wiring. There were no modifications. And this one goes right between the seats. There's no special mounting. It just fits there. And images on our website will have it with and without the center console. So let's go back and continue with the interior overview. What's amazing about this example, look inside the doors. It still has factory original sound deadening and, if you will, insulation. And while we're on this side, let's show with the camera that battery disconnect. That is a factory part. That's right there in the middle of it. And it's pretty straightforward as far as operating it. All you need to do is, so that's battery is off and that battery is on. So there are a couple of things here. It says made in USSR, and that's actually an electronic ignition, which was a major upgrade in the late 80s, and it's all factory. And then to the right of it, and they're all water sealed, to the right of it is a voltage regulator. So while we're inside the interior, let's show the condition of the top, which is very easy to remove. And you have a really nice 7-seater convertible. There are 2 jump seats in the back. We can show you those in just a moment. We have these little seats right there. Look at that. Simple and comfy.
Looks very comfy.
Yeah. Well, compared to if you don't have the seats and you have to sit on the wheel well, this is super comfy.
Yeah.
So, and look at the condition of just the interior in general, even though it's so basic, but the condition is really, really good. And it is the original condition. And look at the seat adjustment. The seats are adjustable. You can move them forward and you can move them back, but the only way you can do that if you actually unbolt the seat. It's not like it has your typical just little lever, not to mention it doesn't have any power option, but well, you could turn it into power seat if you use a power ratchet, but you still have to unbolt it. So by unbolting it, you have an option of moving it 2 inches one way or 2 inches the other way. So you have like 4 or 5 inches, which is not bad. You do have an option for the seat belts. It does have mounts. And it looks like over here, there's the upper seat belt mount. So you can actually do that as an option. So now that we figured out you can move the seat back and forth, you can also change the seat back recline. And again, this is a very reliable function. You would have to loosen up the hardware on both sides and move the pivoted one way or the other. And so right now it's reclined back all the way. You can move it up a little bit if you want and then just set it. And as always, there are pros and cons. Once it's set, no one can change it. So you can always go back to where you left it. And then, of course, it's not as convenient when you do need to change it. We do have the rear view mirror. Right there is the windshield wiper motor. So your entire windshield wiper mechanism is right in front of you, including the wiring. And the switch is right there that controls it. As you can see, the steering wheel is very basic and it's a good size. And look at the pedals, and again, look at the originality of things, from hardware down to the levers themselves and the pedals themselves. Everything is still so original. There's a 12-volt plug for the flashlight. This is the high beam, low beam switch. Here's the gas pedal. And what's nice about this gas pedal, if you don't like the initial position, you can adjust it so you can bring it into a different initial position where you start. So that's that. And we have a couple of gauges there. We have the we do have the amp meter. So when you're charging it, the needle goes to the right and it shows you how many amps of charge goes in. And if it's not charging, so say the vehicle is not running and you are using headlamps, the needle would go to the left. You have the oil pressure, coolant temperature, and you have the fuel right there. You have the map light on the right, and you have that nice handle on the dashboard that helps the passenger kind of get situated if it gets bumpy. And look at the door pockets inside. The whole door is the door pocket. There's nothing in there. The lock is right here, so all this is empty. You can put a lot of stuff in there. So let's keep going around the vehicle. So we do have the spare wheel, which was made in the country that does not exist. It says made in USSR, in Soviet Union. So that country got dissolved in 1991, but the vehicle is still here. And you can tell the tires are from the high quality rubber because there's not a one single surface crack. We often get BMW, Mercedes cars with 3-4-year-old tires, and they already develop surface cracks. So this is that type of rubber that is just holding up awesome. Let's continue on here as I'll show you the bottom of the doors, the typical area of the rocker panel and the quarter panel that usually rusts away on this. This is so original on this truck. And this little black strip, that is not original. Someone sprayed that as a rust preventing treatment. They also finished off with this rubber kind of trim. That's not original, but that helps with rock chips, so prevents rusting, and it definitely did its job and it's held up nicely. So here's the view from the driver's entry point. And look at the windshield. It has a split windshield in impeccable condition. The rubber is great. And as you can see, the paint is original. There's no tape marks, no overspray. Look at this, all the hardware is proper, correct. And what's that?
I like, is it the intake?
Yeah, that's the intake. That's the intake for the HV no AC air conditioning. No air conditioning system. This has a no air conditioning system. Very reliable system, by the way. It will never break down. Okay, so look at the condition of this engine. You can tell it has very, very few miles. And this brown stuff, just if someone has a wild thought, maybe it's rust, it isn't. It's the certain product that it's like, we call it amber around here, but you can see it was sprayed on the inside pretty much throughout the vehicle. You can see it on the hood, and it just prevents from rust. You can see copper radiator, something you don't see many these days, made in USSR. And look at the substantiality of the hoses. This is a vacuum line. Check this out. This is a metal braided vacuum line for the power booster. And here's the distributor. And there it is, 4 cylinders, coil. Here's a fuel filter, serviceable. You just loosen that up, clean it out, put it back in. And these are fuel hoses. Check out the fuel hoses, pretty substantial. Here's the fuel pump, and it has a manual pump, so when the vehicle was stored for a while, instead of cranking it for a long time, you can just pump it by hand. Make sure you got the fuel in the carburetor, and then you can start the vehicle. The carburetor is extremely simple. As you can see, it's all there. The oil filter is down below. The alternator is right there, totally serviceable. So the alternator, these are the brush set. You can just take these 2 screws, inspect your brushes, clean them, replace them if needed. And we showed you voltage regulator, which is installed up on this level, just so that keep it outside of the moisture if this one is going to get into water. There are a couple other cool things here. We can see these 2 hoses there for the oil cooler. And then if it's in the winter, you don't want to cool your oil, there's a shut-off valve that you can turn 90 degrees, and then the oil is not going to get into the oil cooler. And here's the oil cooler, it's right there, this little thing. We have mechanical louvers, so you can close off the radiator on a cold day. The electrical harness, everything is original. Everything is totally original on this vehicle, and that's the beauty of this particular offering that we have. Yeah, here's the VIN tag. It was made, and here's the chassis number. Here's an engine number, which is matching. And speaking of electrical system, well, before we get to electrical system, let's talk about the HV no AC system. It does have a heating system, and those are the 2 heater hoses that there's a pipe, and then it leads to the hose that goes into the firewall through those grommets you can see. And then there's a manual valve that, again, you can literally turn off the heat using this valve right here, so it gets pretty warm on a warm day in a warm country. So the less heat you're going to bring in the cabin, the better off you are, and you have that valve there. So these are very reliable vehicles. They're insanely reliable, and the reliability comes from simplicity. Not only from simplicity, but simplicity is one of the contributing factors. Keeping electrical systems simple is really awesome. So look at this. This deserves a video segment by itself, Ian, just so you know. So we're accessing a fuse box on a UAZ 1990. That's where Mercedes-Benz and BMW had these huge fuse boxes with like 20, 30 fuses in there. Ural, on the other hand, had 3 fuses for the entire vehicle. This is the entire electrical system. It ends up in this fuse box. And another awesome part is that you don't actually need a fuse if it blows. Look at this. So all you need to do is remove your fuse, and if the wire is blown right there, if it is blown, all you need to do, there's a spare wire, so you take a little bit of spare wire, break it off, slide it in there, and you have a new fuse for yourself. How does that sound? For simplicity. You never have to buy a fuse again. Just buy a UAZ. We want to make sure we put it back in. Yeah, it goes in nice and reliable. And then we want to make sure we put this cover, which is made from metal. Very little plastic parts here. That's it. It's all done. So the engine is 4-cylinder, internal combustion. It's has an air filter with the oil cleaning system, so you don't have to change actual air filter element. You just need to service it, so that's that. And the brake system, they are on this one. Yeah, let's show down the bottom. They're actually drums, and this is a solid front axle. You can see quite substantial, and you can see a lot of new parts. Again, everything was serviced here. And it does have the vacuum boosted brake system. So there's a massive vacuum booster, and there's a master cylinder here, and there's a power distribution between the front and back axle, so that's all here. And again, the electrical harness, everything is accessible, very, very easy. So let's take this for a spin. This is going to be a lot of fun. So we'll take you on some back roads here in Boxborough. The gauges are doing fine. The temperature, the oil pressure, and the charge is there. It's got only 13,000 kilometers, and it shifts very, very nice. We're going to take off. Plenty of torque. Third gear. And we do have the upper doors. Just it's nice weather like this to have the doors open, upper doors open, and the soft top that come off. And it's actually a super fun vehicle to drive. We're in third gear. I'm going to put it in fourth. And as you can see, we're going 60 kilometers an hour, which is probably a little over 40 miles an hour. Right within the speed limit. We'll downshift into third. And as you can see, very, very smooth performance. Turn signals work fine. Brakes are nice and smooth. It doesn't pull to either side. And good firmness on the brake pedal, and the clutch has nice resistance and even engagement. Even, which means like it always engage at the same spot and the correct spot. Now in first, second, now third, and left turn signal, and AlphaCars welcomes the UAZ-469. We're going to be making left-hand turn, going around the dealership. So now that you've seen the UAZ, you've seen us drive it, and is that a right vehicle for you? Well, first of all, at the very least, we hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know which videos you like the best by simply clicking the button. Is this vehicle right for you if you're looking for a cool special interest off-road slash kind of something you can drive in town? I think it is for a number of reasons. First of all, in this price range, check out the listing, you'll see it's very affordable. In this price range, there are actually very few vehicles that you can buy turnkey. Turnkey meaning you can buy it and start enjoying it. You do need to start it, and those kinds of vehicles start right up and you just go and enjoy it. So, and then again, once you have a special interest vehicle and you need to service it, you need to maintain it, and some of the older vehicles now that are 40, 50, 60 years old vehicle, certain Toyotas, Land Rovers, and you just don't have access to parts as easily. For these, there are plenty of parts available, plenty of them available. It's also very easy to service. So from that standpoint, it's an awesome vehicle. And then from the standpoint of, is this the right vehicle for you? Do you like it? If you do, check out the website and see if it's available. And thanks again for watching this video.